Hey guys, thanks for tuning in FYG. I'm Hafiz and today I'll be reviewing the Xbox One controller for the PC. Basically, I'm gonna compare to other few controllers that was released way before for the PC and as well as the DualShock 4 for the PlayStation 4 in comparison with the Xbox One controller. Oops, I just turned it on. But anyway, that's the beauty of the wireless controller. Unfortunately, it doesn't apply to the PC version of Xbox One. So let's have a closer look on how does it look like comparing to all of the other three controllers. Okay, so let's have a look at the Xbox One controller for Windows itself. First of all, you're gonna be getting the micro USB to USB cable that has the Xbox One logo printed on it. Now if you don't have a micro USB to USB, I suggest getting the Windows version. And if you do have for say you have the PS4 version that works on a DualShock 4, fine, you still can use that cable. And if you have any other generic micro USB to USB, it's gonna work. So don't have to worry about that as long as you have the appropriate drivers. Now in terms of controller wise, it's actually the same when compared to original Xbox One gamepad for the console. Ignore this red LED here because you're not supposed to see that. It's supposed to be a glossy black finish. The only reason why you are seeing that here is because of my camera lights. That's right, the lighting here is pretty bad, so forgive me for having that shown in this video. Glossy finish all the way to the triggers. The Windows version also doesn't have a battery included, so you don't need battery actually because you're going to be plugged in with the micro USB to play it. Okay, so we are now going to compare it to the Xbox 360 controller and see the few differences. I'm also going to talk about compatibility with games on the Xbox One controller. Okay, so when you compare it side by side, the huge difference is actually the design. Basically, you have this top here and the bottom here is quite thick compared to this one. Okay, so but in terms of comfort level, I'd say that the Xbox One controller feels much more natural holding comparing to the Xbox 360 controller. Sorry about the focus. Alright, the next difference is actually the location of the Xbox logo themselves. This one leads as green, whereas the Xbox One version leads as white. And it's full white, not only just at the corner, you know, like the old one is just a circle white. This one is fully white lit. And the start button, let me get a focus on that. Okay, the start button and the select button is also different on the Xbox One controller. So when you're playing new games like WWE 2K15, you're gonna see this logo instead in the game, not like the old one. It's like a back arrow, left arrow, and a right arrow, right? Start and select. So no longer using that in WWE 2K15. Even though you use the old Xbox 360 controller, you're still gonna see this icon in game. And the first difference that I noticed upon using the Xbox One controller is actually the D-pad. As you can hear the clicky sound on it, comparing to the old Xbox 360 controller. There's not really a tactile feel, a techy feel to it. Okay, that's one. The design is also different. This is more like a Super Nintendo design. Alright, but I haven't tried using the D-pad on any of the fighting games because Mortal Kombat X sucks on PC, so I have to pass on that. So I'm not really sure how well it's gonna work when you do, you know, back front down like that, all those kind of combos. So, but it still feels good. The only thing that I have about it, the only gripe I have about it is the sound. I wish they eliminated that because I don't wish to hear it at night. It's gonna be annoying. Alright. Now, analog-wise, actually the Xbox One controller feels much more natural than the Xbox 360. I was playing Max Payne 3 with the Xbox One controller, and the precision aiming is much more better. I try to play Grand Theft Auto 5, it's much more better, and so in terms of thumbsticks-wise, Xbox One controller wins when it compares to Xbox 360. Now the question is, how does it compare to the DualShock 4? Because there are ways to make your DualShock 4 works on a PC as well. Okay, I'd say still the Xbox One controller wins in terms of the thumbstick. Okay, so put that aside first. Trigger wise, it's almost the same compared to Xbox 360. It's almost the same, I'd say. So the only difference, I feel that this one is much more spongier, meaning that it's much more precise. You have those precision controls to it compared to Xbox 360, which is much more straightforward. And other than that is the bumper. Now the bumper is a big problem for me because I play a controller holding this way and then go up here, okay, using one finger. But when I try to reach here, sometimes I find it hard to click the bumper on both sides. You know, it's like, okay, I have to put in much more extra pressure to it. And yeah, there's also a tacky sound to it. See, so it's more like a Nintendo GameCube style of controller, and I don't like the bumper at all. The Xbox 360 bumper is much more easier to press. This one you have to put a little bit more pressure to it in order for the button to function. I'm not sure if this is normal because this is my first Xbox One controller, but I believe it is. So yeah, so sometimes when you are focused, driving or playing Dirt 3, and I want to change the camera angle, so I try to, oh shit, I have to put a little bit much more pressure to it in order for the button to be pressed. So that's the downfall of it. And if you compare it to the Logitech, I'm sorry, not Logitech, the DualShock 4, no problem. Everything works best, works well. So overall, the DualShock 4 is still better than the Xbox One controller. But we don't have a choice, because if you don't want to emulate your DualShock 4 to be played on your PC, and for future game support, you have to change to Xbox One controller. So over here I have my old Logitech controller that I bought actually 10 years ago in the year 2005, and it actually works flawlessly until now. Yes, it's a little bit you know, color is faded off and stuff, but it's the best controller I had till date. The D-pad is great, it's just like Sega Genesis, and the thumbstick is just like it's located here just like, you know, the PS1 and PS2, I believe PS2, yeah. And this one is the best controller until now because it doesn't die on me. Compared to the Xbox 360 controller, shit, I had to change this dude 7 times. So let's see how long Xbox One controller will last. I really hope it can last long, because I'm not willing to keep on paying Microsoft, you know, for just to change my controller, because I'm more of a keyboard and mouse person. But due to how games are made these days, sometimes they don't do well for keyboard and mouse. So my verdict for the Xbox One controller is that it's a good controller. Okay, it's good, it's comfortable. Like I said, the only problem I have is with the bumper itself and the sound, which is tacky, and I don't like it. But apart from that, I'd say if you are looking for an upgrade from your previous Xbox 360 controller, you should upgrade to Xbox One, because it's the most compatible with Windows, okay, for now. And games are starting to utilize it, because I have to say, when I play WWE 2K15, the Xbox 360 controller feels a little weird. I feel like it's not really that precise, especially in terms of the analog controls. It's not that precise compared to the Xbox One controller. So I say that the developer actually made use of the Xbox One controller for testing instead of the Xbox 360. Now what about older games? The Xbox One controller actually works very well with older games as well. I had a good time playing GTA, I had a good time playing Max Payne. Now in terms of options, when you're selecting the menus, of course you have to visualize that this is select, this is start. So all the games that doesn't support Xbox One controller, it will still work. The only difference is the icon. So vice versa, you know, if it's for new games, if you try to play, when I play WWE 2K15, the icon shows the new Xbox One icon instead of the Xbox 360, which is full colored. Surprisingly though, GTA 5 shows the Xbox 360 fully colored button on screen, even had the controller layout as shown here. Okay, so that's the difference. And if you are familiar with what this does and what is this, then you shouldn't have a problem purchasing one. I just need to get some time getting used to the bumper. So yeah. Alright, so that's my final verdict and opinion on the Xbox One controller. Now if you were to ask me, should you buy it? Now, it depends on what kind of gamer you are, basically what kind of peripherals you use to play your games. As for me, I'm a keyboard mouse person. I say I have to get it as well, because on how games are made these days, they are most utilized with controller themselves compared to keyboard and mouse. So if you are a gamepad person, I'd say definitely you should get it, because it doesn't only work well with current games, it also works best with old games. So far I've tried a few old games. It does work indeed, and there's no issues for me. But I say that if you love your Xbox 360 controller and you just bought it a couple months back, don't buy it yet. Wait for most of the game. You have to wait for it for all the games actually, starting to utilize it, then only that's the time you get it. But if your Xbox 360 controller is giving you a little bit of problems, then I say change it right away to the Xbox One controller. And if you're happy playing your DualShock 4 on your PC, of course, you don't have to buy the Xbox One controller. Unfortunately for this guy, this Logitech Rumble Pad 2 guy, is no longer being well supported. So if you have this Cytec controller or Logitech old controllers, you should definitely get the Xbox One controller, because that's the most compatible and the most supported one for now and for the near future. So my final verdict for the Xbox One controller is I give it about a 8 out of 10, because of the bumpers itself and the tacky feels, which is actually supposed to be implemented on a keyboard. It's not really, it doesn't really suit a controller feel. So definitely DualShock 4 is the winner here. So thank you. Whoa, that's why this guy fell down, because he just lost, So thank you once again for checking out FYG. I'm Hafiz signing off from YouTube and Facebook. I catch you guys soon on my next video upload.